a fitness expert. I have a master's in exercise sports sciences. I've spent the last 30 years of my life helping people live better and longer by making fitness understandable, attainable, and fun. I don't focus on looking a certain way in a thong bikini. I focus on getting people to do better and be better for wherever they are at the moment. Health matters, as we know. On occasion, not on occasion, all too often, there's far too many people that just take their health for granted. And then all of a sudden, we hear those words, you have cancer and all you wish for is health. There's nothing else that matters than health. And so I do a lot of arm twisting. I do a lot of poking people in the chest, a lot of shaking and saying, pay attention to me, this matters. But, for the most part, I'm not rigid about anything. I think perfect's boring. And so I just help people, understand nutrition, understand exercise. I say it all the time. I have a master's degree in the most simple, stupid science in the world. It's move your body, watch what you put in your mouth, get some sleep, remove the cranky people, and you can live well and you can live long, usually. So I do that in a variety of ways. All of my work efforts come via mass media, they're designed for mass impact. So TV, radio, books, magazines, corporate presentations. I like reaching a big group of people at once. It just satisfies me. So I do that, as I've said, teaching fitness. I own a large school running program called the Morning Mile. It's a before school walking, running, and it's the only program in the entire world that invites every child every day, plus the faculty, plus the families, and truly making an impact, teaching these kids how to start their day in an active way. And it's a habit they can carry into their golden years and beyond. And I'm a race announcer. I man the start and finish lines of some of the largest, most prestigious running events in the country. So LA Marathon, Big Sur, Buffalo, Philadelphia marathons, the Wonder Woman series, Batman, Savannah Women's Run. So I host a ton of those, and it's one of the greatest things I do because race organizers just hand me thousands of people who said, hey, exercise is a good idea. Make it fun for them, get them informed, and make them feel special when they're done, which I love doing. And then I'm an author. So I was an author 12 years ago with a book called Everything Flat Belly Cookbook. And then now I'm the author of this guy, My Noisy Cancer Comeback. And I never thought I would write a book about me, and nonetheless one about my battle with cancer, because like everybody, we never thought it would happen to us. But December 2018, clean mammogram. I've been getting annual mammograms for years with no excitement. And so December 2018, it was clean. Less than 7 weeks later, in a hotel bathroom at a race weekend, I got out of the shower and I rubbed my underboob because I had an itch, and I found it. And it was a bean, and I knew exactly what it was. And I, within 30 seconds, picked up the phone. And within a few days, I went into the doctor. A few days later, it was a mammogram and ultrasound. They said, yeah, we see a disconcerting mass, but we also see 3 hard swollen lymph nodes. Let's get a biopsy tomorrow morning. And so, I had a fast mover, and it was on the go trying to take me down. And I think within 3 weeks of finding my lump, I started chemo. And I had as many of us are familiar with, the 6 rounds of Taxotere, carboplatin, Perjeta, Herceptin, which were not my friends. I mean, I was very grateful for it, killing the cancer, but it took me down hard. I was so sick. And then I had 15 more rounds of Kadcyla, which again, a lot of people have no problem with. And I wasn't one of those people. So it was a long 15 months of chemo. I had lumpectomy and 11 lymph nodes removed. I was very grateful to have a lumpectomy. I know it's far more difficult to manage a full mastectomy. So I do count my blessings on that one. And I had 33 rounds of radiation. And here I am. I'm cancer free, and so I finished chemo just in May, so 10 months ago. But here's the kicker. In September, I had melanoma removed from my arm. And then last Monday, I had squamous cell removed from my ear. So I feel like the big C really wants to get me, but I'm not going to let it. I keep like a ninja going after it whenever it pops out.
Yeah, and that's the energy and mentality you have, right? Like your smile, your energy, you're like, I'm not going to let this stop me. And I think too, like you were active and quote unquote like fit and healthy before a diagnosis. And I think this is one of the misnomers that I scream from the mountaintops as well as a vegan prior to getting cancer myself. I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter necessarily if you're how much broccoli and kale and all that great stuff that you're eating. Cancer does not discriminate. And so it's really about finding, knowing your body, understanding some of the signs and symptoms, educating yourself and getting those annual mammograms, and it's never too early to start.
Yeah, and here's the deal. It actually does matter your eating habits and so forth. And I had chronic Lyme's before, and that really suppressed my immune system. So who knows? I pick on my immune system because I ended up with breast cancer, and that wasn't fun. However, hopefully my immune system had shut off pancreatic cancer the day before. They say there's always a cancer cell popping up, and our body's always turning them off. So the eating habits do matter, but even within that, it still can happen.
Absolutely. That's what my doctors tell me something similar as well. They're like, well, because of your diet, it probably pushed it out longer, right? You could have been diagnosed even younger, but because of your healthy choices thus far, you were able to get to this point. So,
And high five to Kimberly, who is on the treadmill. Way to multitask.
yes, oh, perfect combination.
Mhm.
Excellent. So I would say let's just dive right in terms of, when you are going through a cancer diagnosis, you have this unbelievable story that shocked me that your oncologist allowed you to still travel and get on planes and continue to work through everything that you're doing. So, part of me, when we were talking, you were like, that's what gives you energy. That's what you thrive on. So
Yeah.
why take that away? Can you talk a little bit about how, when you were going through your treatments and working in your career and traveling, how did you maintain this healthy lifestyle balance with everything going on?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely understand that I'm in a unique situation, but I think everyone's in their own unique situation, right? And I also have those two teenagers I forgot to mention, but the lights of my life, my purpose, they're the thing that I was most fearful about when I was diagnosed. But yeah, so I get on airplanes almost every weekend of the year. Not only do I get on airplanes, but I go and I host events for thousands of people, and it's a ruckus experience. I do not sit in a chair. And I was very fortunate that my oncology team, they understood who I was and who I am and what I do. And my oncologist, Dr. Gordon, I love him so much. He's a half marathoner, and so he understood what the race announcing was all about. And so after my first dose of chemo, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had friends who had the Red Devil and they weren't so sick. And I always heard the Red Devil was the scariest, or at least it had the scariest nickname. So of course it was the worst. And they were pretty fine on it. So I thought I'm going to be fine. And I wasn't. I exploded and I was dehydrated and all the stuff. But um, that was chemo Monday. And then the next Monday is when I showed up at my doctor staggering. I mean, I'd been so violently ill. And I said, listen, Dr. Gordon, I have to get on a plane on Thursday. Because where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to host the Los Angeles Marathon. And he didn't say stay home or whatever. He said, well, we need to get you on your feet. And those words were magic to my ears. Now I'm a stubborn ass, and my stubbornness is often my greatest asset and my greatest curse. But he also, I think he knew he couldn't have kept me home. There's nothing he would have said that would have stopped me. So it helped that he was on my side. He said, well, we need to get you on your feet then. And so what he did is he prescribed me, I ended up having IV fluids every single weekday for 5 months. And he also upped he gave me the Sustol injection shot during chemo. He worked really hard to keep me from exploding
Hmm.
and falling down. But I would travel. I'd get off my plane in New York or California or whatever, and there would be nurses in my hotel room with IV fluids. And the medical team at the races were always keeping an eye on, what do you need? What can we do? So it took a bit of a small army, a team effort to keep me upright. But the moral of my story is that I had this passion, and I want that for everybody, not just cancer patients. I think when you have these things you love so much, you're willing to work through them. And I just taught a presentation to a public relations association. And I said, who here would work through something like cancer or whatever, and only a small amount of the hands went up. And I thought, well, that's really sad that they just don't love their work. And again, not everybody is blessed to have something they're so passionate about, but I think that's something you can attain, or at least have something you're so passionate about. So if it's not your work, fine, maybe it's your animals. Maybe you have some pets and you will do anything to get out to your farm or to your backyard, or to dote on those animals, or your children, whatever it is. I think it's really important to have that purpose, because, for me, it became very magical. No matter, even if I spent the night on the hotel bathroom floor, and isn't that weird that we sleep on the bathroom floor when we're sick? It's
Oh,
just,
it's good tile. Like I'm with you.
yeah. But I would do that, and then I would get up and go, put my clothes on, and then I'd get on my stage, and then it was like someone hit that switch, and I got to be full force Fitz Koehler again. It was a real gift to be able to focus on the other people.
Mhm.
And for a little while, I forgot that my head was splitting and my stomach was turning. My mother, you guys will appreciate this. My mom actually told me, she goes, you should bring some extra leggings in case you have an accident. I thought, oh my God, my mom's worried about me pooping my pants out at a race. This is horrible. And I never did, thank goodness. But that's where I was. However, when I got to do the thing I love to do, I got to forget about the bad stuff, at least kind of forget about the bad stuff. So it was pretty rewarding.
Right. You want to get back to quote unquote normal as soon as possible. And, I hear all the time too with people who are newly diagnosed of, trying to work through all the paperwork, take time off of work if they have that luxury, and then going back to work, a week or two after completing surgery because they want to get back into that routine again, even though, the patient advocate in me is like, take your time and rest. I think it's important to exactly everything that you're saying is that your doctor knew what motivated you. Your doctor knew what was going to keep you going. And so having that level of hope, I think is really important.
It didn't. And then here's the other reality of it is, I needed to work. I needed to make an income, right? I still have these kids who want to go to summer camp, and I'm married to a police officer who does fine, but there's not extras without my income. And so I did have that thing where I would call my race directors and I said, I'm going to be just fine. And throughout my entire breast cancer treatment, when anyone asked, how are you? I said, I'm great. I'm fine. I didn't never told anyone how sick I was. I did tell, like, hey, I'm going to need IV fluids. It'll be fine. I just need a little extra boost, which was an understatement. But I waited for all my treatment to be done, and I put all the gory details in the book. But up until that point, nobody knew what was going on. And I know a lot of people probably are in the same position where they're fearful of losing their job if they tell people how sick they are. So it was, I mean, there was a lot of things to juggle there, right?
Yes, absolutely. What was your nutrition like? If we can talk a little bit about that while you're going through chemotherapy. I know for a lot of us, we lose our taste buds. We go through, I know I was on steroids that made me like crazy hungry for like all the comfort foods one day, and then sick as a dog the next day where I couldn't eat anything, the ups and downs. And I lament about kind of this like, I call it like the angel like cherubim. I had this like kind of like angelic glow of like kind of an over plump angel, right? I was bald and my cheeks were really puffy and everything seemed inflamed. But I was in survival mode. I was like, on the good days, let's celebrate and eat a good meal, and on the bad days, we'll be in bed and in the bathroom. How did you manage the nutrition throughout all of this?
Yeah, so my stomach turned instantly. I mean, I think it was on that third day where I lost my taste buds completely. And then the next day I started exploding. And then I just ate like a sick person. And all of my commitment to broccoli and vegetables and fruit and all of that stuff, even though I knew that nutrition is a powerful cancer fighter, I didn't have the capacity. And so I ate a lot of bland things. In fact, my husband, for my chemo and IV fluids, because it was right across from the mall and a little deli, my husband was going to get me mac and cheese. I was like, can I just get a little kid's cup of mac and cheese? My nutrition, man, deteriorated. It was soup. You get those few things that taste okay, you can tolerate. And then I had, at one point, it was Chobani strawberry yogurt, only Chobani, only strawberry. If somebody dared shut up with thin, and I'd be like, get out of my face. So there was minimal things I could eat. And that poor man, I mean, he was constantly if I had a craving for anything, he'd go get it because he was excited that I would be consuming something. But yeah, it was just awful. It was so bad not to be able to taste.
Yes.
And the second I put something in, I knew it was going to come right out. And then after the mean chemo treatments, I think I probably got my taste buds back about a month or so later, which was very relieving.
Mhm.
However, with Kadcyla really turned my stomach, and I ended up dropping like 13 pounds after I finished the mean chemo. And I'm a small person to begin with, and I remember being fluffy. I remember, bald and no lashes and poofy and that whole thing. And then all of a sudden, I was gaunt with sunken cheeks
Mm.
and gray. And my mom was yelling, "You gotta eat! You look like you're in the Holocaust." And I was like, "Oh my God, Mom,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best." It was just a year ago today that I was desperately trying to get protein powder and milk, and I was averse to anything sweet. So trying to drink choke down chocolate milk or protein powder was gross, but I was terrifyingly thin, and it was not only not healthy, but looking in the mirror, I was very, very disappointed. I know some women have to deal with weight gain because of chemo, and that's horrible, but being fairly skeletal was really stressful too. So you just do your best, you hang in there, and you
Yeah.
fight to get back to as normal
It's
as you
interesting too
can.
with like your conversations with your oncologist. I know when it was like clockwork. Every month I would go in, well, more than 1 month, but every month I would gain 5 pounds. It would just be like clockwork. Like instead of losing a pound a week, I was gaining a pound a week. And, month after month, it's like, oh, here's the monthly five. Like it just is what it was. But they didn't seem concerned about it. To them, it came across, and these are my words, not theirs, that I was healthy, that I was eating, that I was being able to tolerate the treatment. And so I mean, I don't know in hindsight if any doctor would say, "Oh, good job on gaining all this weight." But,
Right.
it kind of seemed like the opposite when I was going through the chemotherapy. What was your doctor saying to you when you were going through the Patzilla and losing all of this weight? Was there concern about your nutrition or protein or
It was very interesting to me because so I'm 5'5" my starting weight was about 123. And through the mean chemo, I would maybe, I would lose 3 4 right at the first week, and then I'd gain them back. But when I started Kadcyla, which we call Godzilla because it looks like
Mhm.
that, Godzilla. Arr! So um I I was down at 111, and they weren't flinching. And I guess because oncologists look at skinny, horrible people, they knew they were curing me. And I have HER2 positive, estrogen positive. I'm apparently right on the border of progesterone positive and negative. So one doctor says, "No, you're a triple positive." The other one's like, "No, you're not." So whatever. Um, but yeah, I think they just had utter confidence that they were curing me and I bounced back. And so, yeah, they showed no alarm. I remember asking my doctor, saying, the oncologist, "I'm losing weight. Do you recommend anything?" And I'm a nutrition person. I am not a nutritionist, but when I know how to eat and how to get quality calories, and of course my stomach was just preventing the intake. He goes, "Well, there's a thing called Oncobites. I think they taste pretty bad, but we can get them for you, or you can get them on Amazon." I was like, forget it. So yeah, they never really flinched about my weight loss. My husband and I, my mom, of course, was alarmed, but
sure.
yeah.
Sure. And that's a common piece of feedback I hear a lot too is like, the oncologists specialize in the oncology of the cancer. It's maybe an opportunity for us to advocate and say, should we be seeing a nutritionist? Should we be seeing a specialist to kind of help complement the work that they're doing? Because there's going to be such significant changes. And, there's only so many books you could read. And again, if you're not going to school, like we're not experts the way you are and study this. We only know what we can Google. God forbid Dr. Google will tell us what to do, but there's just so much information out there and it can be really confusing, especially as we're getting through. You mentioned that you were like ER positive and HER2 positive. I think there's a lot of us now after being diagnosed with this type of subtype of breast cancer, where there's now this added anxiety of should I be cutting out phytoestrogens or different types of foods and legumes or tofus that we might have heard about at one point might have had a link to breast cancer, but there's still not necessarily 100% scientific evidence saying one way or the other. I think everything still is in moderation. Did you navigate any of dietary changes after your diagnosis in terms of preventative care?
So I can say I'm a big fan of the motto, when you know better, you do better. And I am also one of those people who I'm constantly learning and happy to. And so my radiology oncologist is a fit little spitfire. And when I went to see her after the 5 months of mean chemo, she goes, "Have you read Anti-Cancer, A New Way of Life, this book?" And I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "You should. And if anyone hasn't read that yet, you should. It's a great story by the author. His diagnosis is pretty impressive and shocking. It's a great story, but then he also provides hard data for and proof evidence that certain foods help fight cancer and certain foods feed cancer. And he even breaks it down to lung cancer and pancreatic cancer and so forth, which foods work for which. Most of them are overlapping, and most of them are the foods you would think: fruits and vegetables, berries, garlic. But it's not just garlic, it's like tomatoes sauteed in garlic with extra virgin olive oil. There's some nuances to it. But the thing I found most powerful, now mind you, I spent 5 months in exclusively on the chemo side of the building, and ours is broken into two sides. And they have those candy dishes, it's for the suckers. For everyone's got a sore throat and sores in their mouth, and that totally makes sense. And I've always been someone, as a fitness expert, that I don't tell anyone to be extreme about anything. I don't believe in diets. I don't believe in rigidity, because it leads to suffering and quitting. I want people to be able to stay the course. If you have a little wiggle room, 85% of the choices you make are good ones, and the 10-15% of your indiscretions don't matter so much. You can do just fine. However, I really got a good dose of sugar reading that book, and why sugar is not a good idea. So I read the book, and then I go into a PET scan just a few days later. So I see all of his data showing how sugar feeds cancer. And then I had the PET scan, and the day before the PET scan, they say, "Okay, you can't have carbohydrates, you can't have caffeine, you can't have sugar." And what am I eating? Because nothing feels good anyways. So I strip myself of that stuff, and I show up for the PET scan, and I say, "So how come I had to do that?" And the tech, who's wearing like this, armored vest and protecting herself from the stuff she's going to inject in me, and she goes, "Oh, well, we're injecting this nuclear fluid with sugar. And now that your body is stripped of sugar, this sugar is going to go straight to your cancer cells, because sugar makes the cancer dance. That's how we see it on the x-ray." And I just thought, to my lymph nodes and my tumors, it's going to go feed it right now. Great, thank you. So sugar makes the cancer dance was a really powerful statement to me. And then back last spring, I started working with a breast cancer PhD researcher from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, the Breast Cancer Institute. And so we're just having a casual conversation about stuff. And she also has a quality list of foods that help fight breast cancer specifically. And she goes, "Oh yeah, if I want to make tumors grow in the petri dish, I add sugar." And I thought, oh God, she's actually feeding tumors with sugar. And so I'm not radical about anything. I refuse to be. But now the things, I walk by those little bowls of suckers in the infusion room, and I think, what the F? Like, why are you feeding all these cancer patients these little balls of sugar? And so that's really where, my stomach is still not what it should be post 15 months of chemo. And probably it'll take at least 15 months to get back there. But one of the things I'm averse to is sweets now. And I used to be quite enthralled by the sweets. I do believe it's more of a mental aversion now. I think I just look at my husband's, low fat yogurt he brings in there, and I just think, not worth it. So, yeah, I eat nutritiously for health. I definitely do, but I'm avoiding sugar specifically because I don't need any more evidence. I truly believe it is feeding the cancer, and I don't want to do that.
Right. No, thank you for that. And that's so important. I feel like sugar is one of those things that hides in absolutely everything. So if we can cut it out, knowing that we're cutting out the obvious sugars like the cakes, the brownies, the sweets, etc. Like, I get shocked when I'm like reading the back of the ketchup labels or salad dressings or kind of these other places where it hides, where
Yeah.
personally I'm not going to give up all of that to be that extreme, but to at least be cognizant of what's in the labels.
Yeah, I don't get those big old muffins. And here's the deal, Splenda is a safe alternative. So hold on. This is not in my kitchen, but this is what I put in my tea in the morning. And green tea is apparently a great cancer fighter, but Splenda is a great alternative. And the sugar that comes in fruit is not a threat. So it's really refined sugar that we should be avoiding. And, you do your best. You don't have to be perfect. You get to decide what you're willing to give and what you're willing to take. But yeah, nutritionally, that was a big lesson learned. And I certainly have less than I did pre-cancer, pre-knowledge.
So in terms of like working out and fitness, I know after surgery, there's always kind of this window of, waiting 2 to 4 weeks or 8 weeks and kind of bringing on different strength training exercises. Can you tell us a little bit about like your recommendation and experience after surgery, getting your strength back? And then after being on all of these hormonal pills or chemotherapy drugs that we were on, knowing that our bones now have suffered so much toxicity, what can we be doing to maintain that strength and or rebuild the strength after a surgery?
Sure. So I'll start with, during treatment, it's if you can exercise, you should. That's just because you're being treated doesn't mean you have to give up all exercise. It's almost like when you're pregnant, you do what you can, first do no harm, make progress, because being stronger is always better than being weaker. I was whacked completely out of exercise for 4 months. And then I had surgery. And so I was weak from no exercise and sickness. And then I had the surgery and it was tight and weak. And then I lost weight, which when I lost weight, I lost 12 pounds of muscle. There wasn't much on me other than muscle. And so even things like sleeping on my side was excruciating because my shoulders, neither one could bear the weight of my body, so lack of exercise, weakness, lack of mobility is really, really problematic. And so I went easy on myself for starters. I went easy on myself. Second, I got a physical therapist, and I've been seeing a physical therapist for various things for years. And this guy I trust, he's world class. So he helped me through a lot of these issues because something was always hurting. And I'm a fit girl, right? I'm that girl. And I was brutalized by the whole experience. So, getting someone, a physical therapist, is different than the trainer at your gym. A PT is there to take care of like your your reconstructive efforts with exercise. It's usually tightness and weakness they can address. So physical therapist was number one. But, I went from finally ill for 5 months. And then finally I started to feel a little better. And I couldn't even walk to the mailbox on some days. So what I did, it was summer, and I decided, okay, I'm going to get in the pool. The water has always been my refuge, whether I was pregnant or I was injured. The pool is a gentle place to exercise. I know in Boston, swimming outdoors isn't a good idea, but maybe you've got an indoor facility, certainly worth an investment. But yeah, I got in my neighborhood pool and I just stretched. That was it. And in fact, the only thing I maintained through the mean chemo was stretching. And I would stretch in the shower. And I was constantly taking showers because of the headaches, and I was bald. So it was easy in and out. But I was stretch. And then so I got in the pool and I stretched. And I went back the next day and I got in the pool and stretched. And then the next day I just started like wiggling around, literally wiggling in the pool. That was it. I was talking to my neighbors and wiggling. And the wiggling became walking in the pool, and then it became maybe swimming a couple of laps or treading water for a little. So as tough as and awesome of an athlete as I used to be, that really had no forbearance on what I was on that moment. And so I took baby steps, and that's really what everyone needs to do, is be totally forgiving with their body and say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit more and then a little bit more. And I live on this hill, and my hill is called Killer Hill. That's what the nickname of my hill is. So when I started exercising, and I had this dog, and I love to walk the dog, and the poor thing got no walks while I was sick. But anyways, we went around the back, and one night we got around the back, we got to the bottom, and I just couldn't get up the hill. So I had to call my husband and say, I can't do it. Can you come down and get me? So he drove the car down to get me. And that became a big joke. And so he would walk with me. And then for a while, maybe a month, he got behind me and he pushed me up the hill. So I would whine. I was like, push harder. And he would push. But I'd get up on my own feet. And then eventually, I was able to conquer Keller Hill on myself. And still, when I get up the hill, I think, I'm so proud of me. Good girl, you got up the hill. When I got back to the gym, which was a tremendous triumph for me personally, at 4 months without a gym. And then, I stepped in and I felt like a fish being thrown back into the water. But, I sat there on my first strength training piece of equipment, and I had that moment where, holy cow, I'm not who I was, right? That other girl, Fitz Koehler, she owned the gym type thing. She was so fit. And then there I was bald and I was scrawny, and I could maybe lift 30% of what I had lifted before. And what I could identify with are the people who say, I'm no good at that, so I'm not going to join the gym, or people are going to look at me. And thankfully I am who I am, because I was able to instantly say, no, 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 everyone who walks in the gym gets cool points. The second you walk in means you care about yourself, you're going to try, so you're winning. And then the other thing I've told people for decades is that nobody in the gym cares what you're doing. Nobody's looking at you, and nobody knows what you could lift before. And so, I put in the super light weights, and I went through the motion, and I felt damn proud of myself. And perspective and full understanding, that this health thing being my area of expertise certainly allowed me to make really gentle progress without making my life miserable because I pushed too hard. And yeah, steady she goes. And it's interesting. What I have found is, so I'm 9 months out from chemo. That's right. Math, 9, 10 months, something like that. I have accomplished so much. I'm so proud of myself. And there's marked improvements of what I could do and what I can do. And that performance really matters to me. I think that's it, what we're able to do. Again, nobody's looking at me at a thong and a bikini. So at the beach. So those things are irrelevant to me now. But my treatment for 15, 16 months, I believe it's going to take 15, 16 months for me to get back to what I was. If, hopefully I will. Hopefully I'll get back there and then do better. But I think I'm on track for it to take the recovery to take as long as the treatment. And that's okay. I'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on being almost a year out from chemotherapy and being able to congratulate yourself on what you're able to do today and tomorrow and these baby steps that you keep going through. I think that's amazing, because you're right. Half the battle is to show up and start. And
Yeah.
I am 4 years out from my surgery date, and I feel like it's still yesterday. There's some people and friends on the phone too who kind of like follow me on social and know like there's the good days and the bad days. And, it's hard to not find breast cancer to be a crutch. And, I to put myself out there is like, yes, this happened to me. I'm upset about it. I'm on a lot of hormonal therapies. My body has changed so drastically. I'm just going to eat that big plate of pasta and have a bottle of wine and call and quits and raise the flag, because it's hard, right? We have like those ebbs and flows. What do you say to the people who are kind of going down that rabbit hole, and to realize that they can actually make a difference, and we can start taking these small positive steps today, tonight, tomorrow?
So I think when you said that, I'm just going to sit with a plate of pasta and wine, everyone was like, no, that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. So, if you wouldn't want it for your friend, it's not good enough for yourself. I think that's a good place to start. And again, we go back to health matters,
Mm.
right? So, I hate to be the one to ever, I actually struggle now as a fitness professional, because I have this experience. Like, you know what? For 4 months, I couldn't exercise at all. And you don't have anything like that. So you should get out and exercise. You should be grateful for it. But I can't do that. I would sound like an obnoxious jerk, right? But the reality is we went through hell. All of us went through our, maybe I got a worse chemo experience than somebody, but then she had both breasts amputated and 10 reconstructive surgeries, or even the people who have just a minor, lumpectomy and done. It's very scarring. But health matters. And so we have to be our own coach. We have to be our own support system. We have to be a little bit of all of it. And uh, yeah, I mean, I think we're all left with scars, physical, emotional. This is not easy. I mean, I'm mesmerized. I'm such a happy person. And sometimes I feel like all the tears are behind. They're behind me. I cried all the time last year. This year I'm fine. And then someone will bring something up and it just wells up. And I think, why am I being such a crybaby? But I think it just is. So, um, yeah, if you continue to push the envelope for yourself, I promise you, life will get better. Your body will get better. You know, you will never, ever regret the efforts you made to be better. And one of the things that I haven't address, which I want to so badly, is I'm going to use my computer cord. Please forgive me because I didn't bring my other microphone cord. So mobility is a huge issue, and it's not just a issue for people who've had our type of surgery. Mobility is a huge issue for regular Joes who sit at a desk and do Zoom meetings all day or PowerPoint. They're here, and so
But so me right now. Oh God.
yeah. So any sort of rope type object, a bathroom belt, a belty belt, socks tied together, but coming over your shoulders. You know, this exercise, I'm sure if you had any sort of surgery, your surgeon was like, all right, you're going to get a broomstick and you're going to go back and see if you can put your hands up against the wall. I did this way before breast cancer, and it still is a night and day difference maker for me. I have all these free resources on fitzness.com, Fitzness on YouTube. Right now we're uploading a new video called like upper body stretches with a rope or a strap. But this type of thing will go a long way. And if you're tied up in here, you know, these stretches, work them. If you get a door frame, you put your hand on the door frame, rotate in with that shoulder, and then a great massage therapist. And yes, it might cost you something. Hopefully insurance will cover it. Most everyone, if you've got breast cancer surgery, someone will write you a prescription for physical therapy or massage therapy. And it's the most horrible thing my guy does, but he takes his thumb and he jams it in there, and I curse like a sailor, but it's really, really beneficial. So take care of yourself, and life will get better. And if you have lymphedema,
Oh,
I'm grateful right now that's not haunting me. I might, you know, I fly with a sleeve, but they say the more active you are, the healthier you eat, the less your symptoms of lymphedema will be. So I don't have personal experience with that, thank goodness. But activity is highly beneficial. The fitter you are, the less likely lymphedema is to be a problem. With the caveat of, you know, if you had all the lymph nodes taken out in one arm, they say don't swing a hammer with that arm 700 times, you'll aggravate it. But traditional, you know, dumbbells, if you're going to do upper body repetitions, give your upper body a little break and go to your lower body. And so don't harp on it. Interspace it with just other exercises, and you should be fine. In fact, exercise will be really good for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about getting in the pool earlier. I notice when I do swimming, even with a sleeve, you're creating that compression for the arm, and then the passive resistance of swimming. You're emulating this like pumping
Yeah.
situation where your fluid can move. So that was a lifesaver for me and still is. I notice on the days that I don't go swimming or whatnot, it just flares up. And then when the moment I get into a pool a week later, I'm like back to the normal. So that's really great.
And here's the deal with the pool and the swimsuit situation. And I know not everybody's comfortable with their body, but literally all of us have been disrobed a million times, boobs out, everything out for radiation techs and surgeons, and everyone's constantly groping us and looking at our stuff. And people have looked. Just put that aside and go exercise. At least if people are going to be looking now, they're looking at you doing something beneficial for yourself. They're not just looking, right?
Absolutely. Fitz, I love this conversation. I want to spend the last half of the conversation opening it up to some Q&A from the women who are calling in tonight. I know Kimberly posted in the chat if you could talk about weight loss after chemo. She's about to start the TC and fears steroids induced weight gain, which I know we can all relate to as well, and trying to lose in a treatment induced menopause.
Okay.
That's a big
So
topic.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Kimberly, I'm right there with you.
And you're just about to start. So I'm sorry you're going through that. I hope it's quick and easy for you, right? We're going to all wish quick and easy on Kimberly. Oh, there she is. That's a pretty bald head. Hi, Kimberly.
And again, I do apologize. I'm just walking on the treadmill right now, so it's loud. So I just finished a clinical trial, which went super well. Going to have surgery and then going to be doing some TC. So I'd love, any feedback or ideas that everybody has to share, because I'm freaked out about gaining tons of weight on steroids.
Yeah. So I think you're someone with good habits. I see this, that you're on the treadmill, even though you're doing chemo and all this stuff. So you're really not, in my opinion, someone who's going to be in fear of gaining a lot of weight and keeping that weight on. Your good habits that you had before breast cancer, if you go back to those good habits, you should go back to being Kimberly. But there's, with weight loss in general, the rules don't change for your situation. And so the things that don't work are diets, pills, powders, supplements, those sticky wraps, snake oil of any sort. There just simply isn't any tool where you could put the word weight loss on it. This is a weight loss apple, and then it's going to magically help you melt away pounds. So we'll start there. The thing that does help you lose weight is knowing how to eat the right amount of the right food for the size you want to be. So on the cover of my website, fitzness.com, and I'm going to type that in here right now. It's called Exact Formula for Weight Loss. So Kimberly, don't use the exact formula for weight loss right now, just survive. But when you're done, if weight is an issue, that will allow you to pick your own caloric budget for the size you want to be at that point. And so, for example, well, I'll go quickly, but on average, a human body burns about 10 calories per pound of body weight per day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, multiply that by 10, we know you're consuming approximately 2,000 calories a day, because that's what got you to 200 pounds. So if you want to weigh 150 pounds, you add a 0 on the end, and your caloric budget is 1,500 calories. And the reason 1,500 calories is because that's how many calories it takes to sustain a body that's 150 pounds. And so you just switch gears, you eat like a 150-pound person, and eventually your body will shrink down to that size. Now, the article on the site, fitzness.com, again, it's always on the cover, but it goes into a lot more thorough detail with frequently asked questions. But, you have your caloric budget, and then the onus is on you to fill that budget up with as much nutrition as possible. And so if you wanted to eat it the dumb way, we're going to go with that round number of 1,500 calories. You could kill 1,500 calories in the morning with a frappe dappe latte and with whipped cream, and then a bagel with cream cheese. That can be 1,500 calories. And if you only ate that every day for the next 6 months, boom, you drop down to 150 pounds. But the problem with going the dumb way of your caloric budget is you would likely be hungry again by noon, and then you'd get a headache, and then you would quit by 1. And so 1,500 calories, or even for me, I'm a 120-pound girl. I have the 1,200 calories. That I am the 1,200 calories. So where, for decades, people were like, everyone should eat 1,200 calories. That's insanity. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should not be only eating 1,200 calories. Donald Trump, Joe Biden should not be having 1,200 calories. So you have to pick a caloric budget that works for your size. But you get your number, and then you fill that caloric budget up with as much nutrition as possible. So 85-90% is your produce items, your lean proteins, your healthy starchy carbs, your lean dairy sources, if you choose that. And then you've got 15% for wiggle room. My wiggle room always includes milk chocolate, not dark chocolate. I go straight for milk chocolate. Some people would rather have a glass of wine or some Cheetos. It's really up to you. But that would be your boundary for losing weight. You get done with your treatment completely, and then you target your weight. If you want to weigh 143 pounds, your caloric budget is 1,430 calories. You get MyFitnessPal. It's a free app, and you just poke in what you eat throughout the day. And when it says you've hit 1,430 calories, you stop. and stop eating. And then you go to the next day and you incorporate exercise. The reality is you can never exercise off reckless eating. So that's not the best tool for weight management. The exercise is the thing that keeps you strong and flexible with great endurance and great balance. You cannot be fit without exercise, but you certainly can be your ideal body weight just by managing your eating habits.
This has been such a educational session for us. I appreciate you sharing your personal story, your motivation and inspiration for all of us. And this has been really helpful. So
Thank you.